Hello,
Welcome,
everyone.
everybody. So we were here a year ago
Yeah.
talking about peer-to-peer and a ton, and we're so happy to be back and talking about it again. So let's take it away.
All right, let's start from, I think...
A recap.
Yes. So this is obvious, right? So the internet is broken, means that there are many flows with the internet over time. It started with as a great idea, and it's still a great idea. It's a way to interconnect people, to share information, to get people access to information. I think the internet really helped human development and science development in an incredible way, right? So this all sharing all the information is, of course, wonderful. But at the same time, with social networks and the ability of people to, share or share all the information of their day-to-day life, then is where internet started to fall apart. So why? Because there is enormous centralization of the data that we produce on a daily basis in the hands of few companies: Google, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon. So they build centralized infrastructures across the world that are collecting all our data. And again, this is obvious stuff, right? So we all use maybe Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all the social networks, but these are controlled by the very same companies, Google, Meta, and so on. So an interesting data point is that 70% of the websites is being served by centralized infrastructures and centralized in the hands of these three companies: Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. So centralization of power. So imagine how much power these companies have in their hands. They have all our data. They have control over the information. They can decide to shut down website. They can decide whatever they want. Is in the end, is their premises, is their buildings, is their servers. And they made it in a way that is really easy for every one of us to continue to give them our data, because it's about convenience, right? So they create a system that is extremely convenient for everyone, and just so that we can feed the information to them. This leads to privacy erosion. Last year, we had that funny cow that was milked, and the cow is actually our data. Our data is being milked by the big tech companies that are eager to get fresh data every day, like a fresh milk, to leverage that data, to monetize our data, and they need always to come up with the next incentive for us, the next great idea, the next great social network, so that we continue to store our information on their servers, on their infrastructures, because those infrastructures are extremely expensive. And so if we were to stop storing our data, our new photos, our food photos on their servers, eventually they will not have fresh data to sell, and the cost of running their infrastructure would be so big that they would have to shrink it or shut it down. But instead, since we are all providing new photos and new messages all day long in billions of quantities, then they can sustain themselves and make a lot of money out of it. Algorithmic biases is another interesting aspect. So of the power, the centralization of power. So these companies can, in all effect, decide what we think. Right? So the most important, we spend our life with the smartphone in our hands, and the future is even more scary. You can have. Now, many of you surely have seen the Meta collaboration with Ray-Ban for the glasses, and now you can start seeing things directly on your eye. Or in the future, you might have things like Neuralink with a chip in your brain. And what if all the information that we see every single day is part of an algorithm that is showing us not necessarily what we want to see or what we should see, based on our research or based on our preferences, but this algorithm could always put something that prioritizes messages that governments or centralized companies or advertisers want us to see, right? That could become extremely dangerous from a political point of view, from a censorship point of view, from a mass control point of view. So algorithmic bias is something that is scary, and we should, every time we do a research, we should always think if that research really, the results are corresponding to the real vision of the world, the real version of the world, rather than a biased version from the provider that we are using in that moment. Digital colonialism, again, same thing, is we are living in a world where we have these companies offering services all around the world. Now you go in Dubai, you go in South Africa, you go in France, in El Salvador, everyone is using WhatsApp, Telegram, and so on. So basically these centralized communication systems are used to control people, are used to ensure, are almost Trojan horses in people's lives, and not just people's lives, in communities, cities, and countries. Countries are not really sovereign because they don't have, their citizens in the country don't have a way to communicate between themselves without passing through centralized systems owned by foreign companies. This leads to also several security vulnerabilities. We have seen how things could go wrong, data leaks, and so on. There are a ton of websites that sell private information of people that were leaked by centralized systems. Data harvesting capitalism. You know, as I said, our data is being milked by big tech companies. Is really impossible to compete, and almost impossible. We'll see in a little bit how we could compete, but it's almost theoretically, until now, it was impossible to compete with the billions of dollars that big tech companies like Google have, right? So almost no chance. So how we can solve this?
Yeah, so it's always good to start with a little doom and gloom. And you know, it's actually what's also scary to me about this stuff is like, it feels like we're talking about what's going to happen in the future, but it's what's happening right now. So you know, it's serious business. So how can we fix this? We need basically new alternatives. And very luckily, it's one of those things where there's a three-letter solution. It's peer-to-peer. Because peer-to-peer takes away almost all of these problems. Adds up new problems. That's how all solutions work. But makes technology solve all these things in a much better and much stronger way by reshaping the paradigm. So this is all about data between users and not between companies and between big servers and big tech. So that's super important, and that's basically our mission at Holepunch, to deliver this stuff all the time. So at Holepunch, we have a bunch of things we think about a lot, but we have this thing that comes up all the time where we're always thinking about how can we make peer-to-peer systems that don't talk with servers but talk directly with users. Users only talk with users without any compromises. So not like systems where it's like, oh, it's a little bit peer-to-peer, and then we have some servers, so we're, you know, putting usernames over here or controlling the data here and stuff like that, and we can kind of offload a little bit of our cost by making it peer-to-peer. No, peer-to-peer where we make apps just for users, and users use the apps to talk with users. They don't use the apps to talk with us. And that's the thing we do all the time, and that's the thing we think about a lot. So we're kind of fanatics that way. We don't do things half. And I think that's the only way you can do this, and that's the only way to approach these problems, to do it in a very important way. And this statement here actually, you know, reflects a lot about that. It's all about just taking the apps we have today. Apps are actually okay a lot of the times, like, you know, chat apps, they're nice. But we need to put the control back to the peers, to the users. Peers should own their data, always. It shouldn't be some data stored on some server that they have a license to, or that they, you know, can do some crazy compliance thing to maybe get access to see what people know about them. No, users have their data. Users control who they share their data to, and users can communicate with each other without having middlemen that censor or try to restrict what they say or filter out things or add ads. Just apps for users and only users. And we solved this by just janking out all the centralization. Sounds pretty easy, super hard. And then, but another bunch of technology, and then went a bunch of hard work, and then went a bunch of head scratching from me and Paolo and our team, creating a whole new model for how these services work. So, ground up rebuilding of everything. We spent, we were here last year talking about Holepunch also, and we spent all this time basically rethinking all this infrastructure and building things. And one thing that's very interesting when you work with peer-to-peer, because it's a very technological product, and there's a lot of hard problems. So we said to ourselves, how can we actually demonstrate that peer-to-peer can work for real people, not just nerds like us, because we'll always make it work, but like for real people, like our parents, like anybody. That is not because of technology, but because you can just make better apps. So we said to ourselves, let's make the app that everybody uses, a communications app, chat apps. We made Keets. We've basically released this here a year ago at the conference. It's a chat app. We started with just making an app that can make peer-to-peer video calls, because that's really good, because you can then just do really high-quality calls, because you have no restrictions. Very, very powerful stuff, end-to-end encrypted, and all these things. And then we scaled that, and we added a chat platform to it. We actually had a desktop version also initially, and scaled that, and we added file sharing, because again, we took all the centralization part, and then you could just scale things like crazy, so we can share terabytes of files without having any limits on our servers, because we don't pay the cost, because all the stuff is going straight between users. We added Bitcoin integration. We're adding Tether integration soon, and we took all this stuff, and we spent a lot of time getting the stuff to work on mobile. And we launched Keets Mobile. I think that was basically a year ago, right? No, it was a little bit after, yeah.
It was around early January.
Early January, yeah. Time flies. So we launched Keets Alpha on mobile. That was a very interesting experience for us. We learned a ton. We found a lot of patterns. The way you use phones are different than computers, and found ways to adopt our technology. And then basically we sat down and we how can we take all these learnings and all this feedback we got from users, and then just make everything way better. So we basically sat down, we rewrote everything from scratch, and we spent 6 months doing that, and made a new version of Keets. Keets Beta 2.0, very, very exciting. We just launched this silently, as silent as you can be when I'm saying it out loud, a couple of days ago. The very early first version, we're still working out some kinks as it is with these launches, but complete rewrite from the beginning, rethinking a lot of these paradigms for the mobile. We had in our alpha versions, we had some basic data structures where we were we want to make chats that work for small groups. Then we quickly saw, because it got very popular, that people want to make very big groups. We had a lot of communities that have thousands of people that want to be on Keets. We love to have communities on Keets. So we scratched our brain, and the team worked hard, and we found ways to scale these data structures, basically unlimited. We're testing now with tens of thousands of peers, but there's no theoretical limit to our scale at this time.
Can I say something on this part? Because I think when people are used to use things like Telegram, they see some Telegram groups have 100,000 users, right? So even if you are a developer, usually the simple solution is, okay, let's have a ton of servers, and let's have everyone connected to the servers so they can distribute our text messages to hundreds of thousands or millions of people. And so I think the most important achievement here that the team made in the last several months is actually having, let's say, call it a Telegram-like experience, but without any central server. And is almost magic, in the sense that you have thousands, tens of thousands, and scale us actually to millions of people, millions of devices, where each device will receive a real-time information of the new chats or the new text messages, or new photos, videos, whatever, without a central server. So this is probably the most sophisticated, complex coordination exercise ever been done in technology, without any central point of failure, any central server. So I think it's important to appreciate the complexity of it.
Oh. It's so true, and it's been very exciting for us. It also means now we can scale our company to thousands of employees, so we can be on Keets. So that's great. From the beginning, our alpha version didn't have calls on phones. That was very requested. We've added that in the beta also. There's audio calls now. There's video calls rolling out very soon. This one was a very requested feature implicitly. So basically, peer-to-peer is very interesting because, and I talked a little bit about this in my talk yesterday, but basically, normal systems have this problem of like, you have a server, a service, and you have one user, and the service is running really great. Then you add two users, and the server runs probably still really great, but a little bit worse. Then you add 1 million users, and things starts to go down and starts to go down. Peer-to-peer takes that graph and flips it around, which means that if you have a peer-to-peer system with 2 users, the experience is actually not always super perfect because it requires both people to be online, because otherwise there's no data flowing between them. That seems problematic and is problematic. We'll talk about it in a second. But at 3 people, all of a sudden, you know, because of math and statistics, right? Maybe that third person is online. At 4 people, it gets even better. At 1 million people, probably one person is there. So it gets better and better the more you scale. And on Keet, one of the things we learned on Keet Alpha was that, you know, we're a small company. We're starting out. A lot of chats have 2 people. So we need a way to have data move between peers without them being online all the time. So we can always deliver a perfect experience, again, without compromising any of our peer-to-peer stuff. And that's why we sat down and we, it's gonna sound like we made 20 huge innovations, but we also did for Keet Beta. We sat down and we designed this protocol called blind mirroring, where users on Keet can mirror data from other chats, fully end-to-end encrypted, so basically like just kind of like seeing random data, but where other people's chats can access them and mirror that. So your friends and family can mirror other people's friends and family's chats if you want to. Fully encrypted, and still doing the fancy querying and showing, and all they used to see is this cool interface they always see on Keet. Basically, TLDR would just work when 2 people are using it, but they're not online all the time. That's super, super important for us.
Yeah, and again, this technology, blind mirroring, is something that is a novel technology. The obvious example is, let's say that myself and Mathias have a mobile phone. I'm online, Mathias is offline, I'm online. I send a message to Mathias, and then I go offline. Mathias, though, is still offline, eventually will come online. But since it's peer-to-peer, the message is still on my phone because Mathias was not online, so I could not deliver the message. So even when Mathias comes online, he doesn't see my new messages. So, of course, that is an enormous user experience barrier. So the way to solve it, there are 2 ways. Some of our competitors, Keet competitors, they use centralized relays. And so that poses a risk. Using centralized relays in order to make data availability easy pose the risk that eventually the cost of running a relay will be astronomical. And so we would end up in having concentration of data relays. So we go back to the beginning of our discussion where we have shown how concentration of data is always bad. Right? The other approach, that is a novel approach that we're using with blind mirroring, is having your friends, your contact list, actually to help you to deliver messages when you are offline. So in the case of blind mirroring, Mathias is offline, I'm online, I send a message, but I do it in a way that if Mathias is not online, I can send this message to also in an encrypted form to my contact list, and someone of them will remain online, while then Mathias will come online and will be able to receive my message.
And decrypted.
Yeah?
It's all decrypted.
Exactly, and decrypted. So all my contact list, or part of contact list, or few of the contact list that will receive my message, they will not be able to decrypt it because it's fully encrypted with Mathias' public key. But yet, they will help to deliver, they will help to make the message, the user experience extremely smooth, as you expect from WhatsApp, WeChat, and Telegram. So again, this is one of the other incredible technical achievements that took almost 1 year to develop, to make it right, but these are set in stone and will also always be, of course, it will get better, it will be more efficient, will scale more, but it is one of those things that is setting a path for a new set of applications that are going to be for real time, for real secure, for real private, and for real unstoppable for once.
100%. And we have so many more innovations in here. This one I'll just touch upon quickly. We have something called blind pairing. That's another thing we learned. Two people have to be online to join a room. Not great UX, so we just make the network hold those invites a little bit, and now you can kind of asynchronously pair. Super cool. Again, just probably works like you would expect it to work, but it's still 100% peer-to-peer. Super cool. And tons of other stuff. And what I love about all these features we added, and this is probably what somebody's going to experience when they open the app. App kind of looks the same because the app was pretty good, but it just has this new updated engine that just makes it run better, and because you just want to present a very simple user interface to users. Obviously, we also have stuff like emoji reactions now. We have, edit files, all these things you can expect. And I don't know if that's in this current build, but it's definitely rolling out very, very soon. We're also working on this thing that's really exciting, I think. Called broadcast rooms, because this new engine scales so well. You can have rooms where you, as a content creator, put content in and broadcast it very, very efficiently to millions of peers, but only you can add to it, and we'll add ways where you can control who gets it and monetize it. We have podcast rooms. We're going to do that where you can add, and control access to audio content or video content where you're posting that. So you can basically run your whole social media thing on Keets very easily just from your phone with the same scale you get from anybody else. So, yeah.
I think the broadcast rooms or podcast and live streams part is extremely exciting. Again, imagine you are a really popular podcaster like Tucker Carlson. Right? You have a video that is being watched by 400 million people, or you are doing really a live stream, a football match, the final World Cup. Soccer World Cup, right? So you have 1 billion people watching that thing. And then the obvious thing is that you would think that you would need a ton of servers. So you do a live stream, you have a ton of servers that distribute that real-time content to 1 billion people. Right? Because of course the concept, the usual worry is that imagine if 1 billion people would connect to your home computer to stream from you, right? Or from from your phone. With Keets and with Holepunch, the solution is fairly easy, I would say. The solution is that while you stream from your device, could be your smartphone, while you stream, your data is watched by few people, and then these few people can replicate to other people in all real time. And the network of the people that are subscribed to your stream will distribute the chunks, the videos, the pieces of the videos among the cells in real time. This technology, this solution has been proved in a certain way by BitTorrent in the file sharing era. Right? So with BitTorrent, even if you had 1 million people downloaded from your computer the same file, it's not that you had to provide you didn't have to have 1 terabit per second internet connection. You were uploading to few of them, and then the people that were having parts of the files already, they could share these parts of the files among other users, and so on and so forth, creating a huge network effect and of file sharing. And the same thing can happen in real-time streams, in podcasts, we'll see later all the crazy ideas that you can have, but you can have a peer-to-peer Netflix, and you can distribute everything from your Raspberry Pi, from your phone. You can distribute content to billions of people.
Yeah, and just more of the same. Yeah. Oh, this one is super interesting. It's also very requested. Keets, because it's a peer-to-peer engine, it's very flexible, super scalable, and that's why we're working on plugins. We're launching that early next year, where you can enhance your chats to do all kinds of things. We basically came to this realization that all our business workflows is basically just chats, just with a little bit of plugins here and there, like deployments. This looks good, yeah. Look, tell the chat to deploy it. That's how we do all our things, and we want to be able to have other people do these things. So plugins are coming. It's really, really exciting for developers, also for users to get various things. So I think that's super exciting. We're working on tons more stuff for our wallet. We're going to be adding Tether and Lightning services, so you can more easily set up. That's a little bit too cumbersome right now. We're super excited about that, and we're still working on our pair credit system, getting that in there also. So lots of stuff to come there, and stay tuned on that. But one of the big things we haven't talked about yet at all is something we also been working on in parallel. That's coming very soon. A very, very big thing. I'm very proud of the team to launch this. But on February 14th and 24th, we're launching the Holepunch platform to all users and all developers. So you can make your own Keet, you can make your own apps, a fully, really, really powerful engine that allows you to just make these peer-to-peer apps from home and launch them. We're calling it the pair runtime because we're all about them pairs. But it's super exciting. It's a JavaScript environment. Allows you to make peer-to-peer apps on mobile, on desktop, pretty seamlessly, all with like tons of flexibility. Yeah, we expect developers to contribute tons of things. We already have tons of ideas, and we always get asked when open source. So I'm very happy to say that the platform will be 100% open source at launch. So you can go in and check in and contribute.
It's our Valentine's gift.
It's our Valentine's gift to everybody. It's really, really powerful stuff, and the presentation could have been 50 minutes if I had to talk about all that stuff, because I'm a nerd and I love to dig in. But catch me around. I'll tell everybody. All running on these peer-to-peer data structures, so you can make interoperable apps and basically make all your dreams come true. And yeah, Paolo, maybe you want to talk about this?
So we also are going to launch by that date Pears.com. We got the domain, and there we are going to showcase the Pears ecosystem. The fun thing with the Pears is one of the most common questions is why the hell you are using Pears, right? So I think that being Italian or not being a native English speaker, people confuse peers, pairs, and stuff like that. So there is kind of a pun intended in the Pears thing, and also there is a concept of competing with centralized things like Apple. And so if we have that T-shirt like Pear is bigger than Apple, because it's the power of Pears is bigger than of course one single apple.
It's also just a better fruit in my opinion.
Yes. So yes, and nothing against kind of something against the big tech companies, but our objective is to create a technology that helps developers from their room with their laptop to disrupt big tech companies and their businesses. The reason is that the centralization cannot cannot continue. We think that is not correct, is not future-proof, that developers, even if they have the greatest idea in the world, they have to go and beg VCs for money and give up a majority of their company to VCs just to try their idea, because most of the time, if an idea is successful, we'll need hundreds or tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in funding in order to reach scale, to serve tens of millions of users. An interesting data point is that Telegram cost is 90 cents per user per year in terms of infrastructure costs, so means servers. They have 700 million active users per month, so it means that every year they spend around $600 million just for servers. Keets, even if Keets has 2 billion users, the cost of infrastructure will be zero. So that's how we want to teach to developers to take example from Keets and think about all the crazy ideas that they have, or look at existing business models and just make them peer-to-peer. They can, from really their laptop in their room, they can scale to billions of people. They can provide great services, and all extremely sustainable and unstoppable.
Every time we have an innovation that makes Keets better, like all the things we talked about, that helps all these other apps become better. And that's what's super exciting about all this technology in general. So yeah, we have, there's tons of things we can build, and there's tons of things everybody can build. We're very, very excited to see what everybody builds. The sky's the limit. So super exciting stuff. So yeah, prepare. And this is a QR code. You can, if you download the latest Keets beta, make sure you're on the latest one, because it updates all the time as we're iterating. You can join the Plan B room here. If you can't scan it or something is acting up, you can just catch me after and I'll show you on my phone. I can hook you up. But we have a room. There's already 200 people in there, I saw. So very exciting. You can see all my memes and all my messages. So thank you so much. And
thank you, everyone.
Enjoy the conference.